Okay, so I don't have a show on Thursday. I'm taking the day off. Load management season 2.0. And I'm off on Friday because we have Bengals pep rally. And we're back next week. Tony and Mo football show on Monday. There's so much going on right now. By the time I'm back on the air, the Nick Kroll comments about Elly De La Cruz probably going to be old news. But I want to spend some time on them. So here we are. Elly De La Cruz did not have a very good 2025, and Nick Kroll was talking about this, I guess, on the Reds Hot Stove League show, and made an allusion to the quad injury that was referred to a few times during the summer last year. But I guess Nick said, well, he was playing with a partial tear. Now, he has since, and I read this on Cincinnati.com, he has since clarified this, backtracked a little bit, and said, I meant strain. And we do these interviews with medical pros from Ortho Cincy every week. I get it. A partial tear is often considered a strain. So, kind of a semantics thing here. Elly did not have surgery, didn't need surgery. He's still rehabbing, which is kind of alarming because the season ended like 7-8 weeks ago, but whatever. Everybody seems to think Elly's going to be okay for the start of spring training. Elly's going to be okay for opening day. Hopefully, Elly has a great year. But I come back to last summer when, you would say, like, Elly's not looking very good at the plate right now, and he's having a hard time in the field. And you would hear, well, he's hurt. And you'd go, okay, well, maybe give him a day off. And it was, well, you can't because he wants to play 162 games. He wants to play every day. Like, all right, well, but he's really struggling. He's not helping the team. Well, yeah, because he's hurt. Okay, can you, occasionally DH him? Well, no, because Elly wants to play every game in the field. Okay, well, he's struggling in the field and at the plate. Well, because he's hurt. Okay, then how about we put him on the injured list? If for no other reason than he gets a chance to rest. Well, but Elly doesn't want to go on the injured list. He wants to play every single day. Well, okay, but he's not being very productive. Well, it's because he's hurt. Okay, well then, can we just figure out a way to not play him every game, every inning, put him at shortstop? Can we come up with something else? No, because Elly wants to play every single day. Well, he's not being very helpful to the team right now. He's really struggling. He doesn't look good at the plate, never hits for power. Well, it's because he's hurt. Okay, well, can we just occasionally DH him? Maybe one day off a homestand? Are we sure you don't put him on the injured list? Well, you can't because he wants to play every day. And it went on and on and on, this just never-ending, circle of this same conversation. And I feel like there's a lot of folks who didn't really want to talk about this because, we all love Elly De La Cruz, or maybe because the Reds were in the playoff hunt and wanted to focus on the positives of that. But that entire time, I was wondering, is somebody going to be the adult in the room? Like Nick Kroll, president of baseball operations. Did it ever occur to him that maybe the best thing for Elly would be to not have him play shortstop and bat third every single day? And, okay, not Nick Kroll. What about the manager, Tito? You hired Terry Francona because of his resume, and he's a beloved figure, but also, this is a guy who has pull, heft, gravitas, cachet. This is a guy who can throw his weight around. And so a guy like that should have the ability to raise his hand and go, guys, are we sure? Are we sure that playing Elly every single day at shortstop makes sense? Is that really what's best for him? Is that really what's best for the team? Did he never do that? And so we can't go back in time, but I wonder moving forward, because Elly is not a finished product, wonderfully talented, capable of doing awesome things, easy guy to root for. You admire the fact that he wants to play every day, but, he can still be an adventure at shortstop, and that's putting it mildly. So if that continues, the more it continues, the more people smarter than me are going to wonder, why don't you put him in center field? Why not the outfield? Now, maybe Elly has a great year at shortstop and we stop doing that, but let's say the adventures at shortstop continue. Is anybody going to say to Elly, dude, you've got to go work out in center field. We've got to try you out there. And the guy in the organization who I believe should have enough weight and enough pull to do that is the manager. Is he unwilling to do that? Is he unwilling to tell Elly, you're not going to bat third every day? If the production doesn't dictate he hits there, is Tito going to have the ability to tell him, or the willingness to tell him, Elly, we're not going to play you every single game? It makes sense. When you play every game, maybe there's this law of diminishing returns thing in play here. So maybe we get the most out of you if we get just a little bit less of you. And you take the occasional day off, or you DH occasionally. And you know what? If you suffer an injury, we put you on the injured list and you rest and you recuperate and you get better and somebody else plays and you come back healthier and more capable of helping the team. Like that's what I want to know moving forward. Elly De La Cruz is one of the foundational pieces of this franchise. And, I understand we all want the dude to be here forever. But it doesn't mean that you can't tell him no. It doesn't mean that he gets to just do whatever he wants without anybody getting in his way. And again, to me, that person is Tito. And look, Terry Francona, by all accounts, did a terrific job with last year's team, finished second in the National League Manager of the Year voting. We're all thrilled that he's here. It's awesome that he's here. But one of the reasons why you hired him, I thought, was to be able to look at a guy like Elly De La Cruz and be the adult and tell him no. And tell him why you're telling him no. And explain that what you're doing is in his best interest and in the team's best interest. Because what they did with Elly De La Cruz last year certainly did not feel like was with his best interests in mind, and it didn't feel like it was best for the team either. So I wonder, was everybody last year just totally unwilling to tell him no? And is that going to continue this year? I hope not.